Hi, First Presbyterian Church family and friends. I'm Diane Terwilliger for this moment of hope. And what I would like to share with you is a little reflection about a trip I took a number of years ago to go to India. And not so much actually about my time there in the country, but more about the flight. So to travel from Texas to India took something like 18 hours in the airplane. And one of the things that I remember so clearly was that on this very long, seemingly unending plane flight, was that every so often these sweet stewardesses and flight attendants would come along with these containers with steaming hot little wipes that you could use to put on your face, to wipe your hands off, and to get refreshed for a few minutes on that flight. And it was a really lovely break. It broke up the monotony of that trip really beautifully. And this is a steamy hot cloth that just made everything else go away for a few minutes. And it was just this powerful, wonderful moment of escape from the tedium and monotony of that flight. And so what I'm thinking about is that God's word is refreshing. And I hope for all of us that it is much, much more than a momentary escape from our troubles or trials or things with which we struggle, but that it is the very foundation actually of all of our hope and all of our joy and all of our delight. So I would like to share with you a few verses today from Lamentations, and I'm going to share a few insights from Dr. Charles Stanley and his take on why it is that sometimes we have to wait through things that we'd rather not. So I'm going to read from Lamentations chapter 3, verses 19 through 26, and then I'm going to share with you a few of those insights from Dr. Stanley. I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I well remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. I say to myself, the Lord is my portion. Therefore, I will wait for him. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him. To the one who seeks him, it is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. And this is a great time of waiting for a lot of people. They're waiting for many different things. For me, as a teacher, I am waiting for there to be some semblance of normalcy, the kind of teaching that I am accustomed to, with real kids and real classrooms right in front of me, with real giggles and real smiles and delight and understanding. So that is a part of what I get to do right now in teaching. And there's this whole other part that I would really rather not be a part of. But this is what God has called me to right now. The good part that I really like a lot, and that's what I'm kind of waiting for things to kind of settle down and not seem so strange and unfamiliar. And so that's a big waiting period for me and tons of people right now, waiting for things to go back to the way that we're accustomed to them being, waiting maybe for test results, or waiting for pain to abate and subside, waiting for a financial situation to change or a relationship to change and mend. There are tons of things for which we wait. And so in that waiting, I pray for all of us that God's word will be the sustaining heart where we find joy and delight and hope, and that we will not just for a small, short snippet of time be comforted, but that we will truly be sustained by his word in our lives as we go through these trying days right now. So Dr. Stanley offers a few reasons why the Lord might have for us to wait through times that are difficult and challenging. So preparing us to receive his blessings. Perhaps we need new skills, maturity, or particular spiritual insight before we are ready for God's plan, Dr. Stanley offers, like David, waiting for years to sit on the throne for which he had been appointed. Or another reason he gives is God teaching us to have confidence in him. However else would we learn faith if we had things right away, the way that we wanted them? And God never being late or coming up short in meeting our needs, even if it's not in the timing that we would choose or a way that we would want. God's ways are perfect and his timing is perfect because his love for us is perfect and always perfectly expressed. And the last way that Dr. Stanley gives about waiting and how that can benefit us is that those blessings sometimes are withheld to protect us. So we might not ever find out why, but God very carefully decides whether to place the things that we want into our hands at the times that we want them, or at other times that he knows of when we most need them. So friends, I pray that you are comforted today by God's word and his wisdom and his presence in your life. And I pray also that just as we can have a nice little restart after we put a hot steaming cloth on our face and breathe in deep and feel so much better, I pray that for you, every time you leave God's word, you are refreshed and rejuvenated and ready to take part in the great plans that God has for you. So thank you so much for your faithfulness and your diligence in sticking with God's plans for your life and seeking him for the very best that he has for you in all faith, hope, and joy.